It's time to discuss my least favorite fighters. And I've done something like this in the past. We're going to do something different. I'm actually going to give these guys some compliments. I'm going to talk about the good things about my least favorite fighters. So let's get into it. Without further ado, the first one on the list. Get the next guy in here. His name is Shaam O'Malley. That's right, Shaam O'Malley. What's his crime? Well, you know, the guy is doing the time. Fans are finally waking up to this guy just being a total fraud of a star. Now, of course, Shaam O'Malley hasn't actually committed a crime, but as I said, he's just guilty of just not being the best representative of the fucking sport as a champion, man. You want champions to be scary. You want champions to look like elite level martial artists, and I'm not one of these guys that just can't comprehend a dweeb like O'Malley as a champion just based on the look. The thing that annoys me, of course, is the fact that not only does he have this bigger than life look and this brand on social media, but you expect this guy to have some personality. You expect him to have a brash personality, talk some trash, be clear when he speaks, be loud, speak with your chest up in the air. And O'Malley is just one of these guys that frickin' crouches over and says, "Does anyone hear me at the press conference? Does anyone hear me at the press conference?" Bro, we need to hear you at the press conference. What's going on? Now, O'Malley's a great fighter, but he's just going to continue to beat these other guys that are just simply better representatives of the sport. Okay? When we're talking about these great lighter weight class fighters in boxing, for example, you're thinking about Gervonta Davis. Now, of course, Gervonta Davis is not the most scary man on the planet, but at the same time, you look at him and you're like, yeah, that guy looks like a fucking boxer, right? O'Malley, on the other hand, even though you know he's good, you know he's slick, you know he's got finesse on the feet, he's absolutely dangerous. It's just one of those things where I think I could take him. I think, you know what I mean? I think I could push O'Malley around the club. That's all I'm saying. If this guy walked into my club and I'm the fucking bouncer, I'm looking at Schmitty, his boy Schmitty, and I'm saying, "Hey, what up, champ?" I'm confusing O'Malley's crew as the UFC guys. I'm looking at Schmitty. I'm thinking Tim Welch is Canelo. Tim Welch is the welterweight champion of the world. Even if I know O'Malley's the champ, I just don't know if I'm not scared of him. Okay? I'm not scared of him, even though he would beat me up. He would take my lunch money. Absolutely. He's a great fighter. But Peter Yan looks like a killer. Peter Yan is a fucking champ. Okay? Cheeto Vera is a goddamn champ. Even if they don't have the belt. A division is only as strong as its champ. And when the champion in the division is not seen as the king of the hill, right? Think about the welterweight division when Usman was the guy that was champion. You were working your way up the division. You were like, fuck though, but I have to fight Usman? I have to fight this guy? Again, remember when Yan was the champion? You're working your way up slowly but surely, and all of a sudden you're like, oh fuck, I gotta fight Peter Yan? This guy's a fucking madman. He's a psycho. That's what the champion should be. It should be the baddest dude in the division. I don't think O'Malley's the baddest guy in that division. He may be able to beat everyone. Still ain't the baddest dude in that division, right? Sorry, he's just not. Like, I know this isn't going to make a lot of sense to a lot of you guys, but you know what I mean. So, that's the thing about O'Malley, man. Now we got to compliment him. Holy shit. I just went on a long-winded rant. Again, O'Malley's a freaking killer. I'll tell you that much. I guess we're here already. We may as well start. He's a killer. O'Malley, he's a fucking killer, man. This guy is a slickster on the feet, and he's really good at social media. I'll give him that. O'Malley is killing it on social media. He's playing the long game. You got guys like Volkanovski and Corey Sandhagen. They're going to be mincemeat by the time this is all said and done. Corey Sandhagen is going to be freaking hamburger helper by the time his career is said and done. All right? The UFC is going to smoke Volkanovski like a Bazooka Joe joint when it's all said and done. He's going to be done 10 KOs in a row. O'Malley is making that Volkanovski money now, which is great. Maybe not, actually. I think he may need a couple of more wins or maybe just one more big win. But my point is, O'Malley, it's going to take him 2 title wins to get to where Volk is right now when it comes to how powerful he is in the UFC. And that's the good thing about O'Malley is he's playing the long game. He's really smart at managing his career. he knows how to get people excited for his fights. Hey, we're all talking about him at the same time. Now, we're talking about him in a way where, like, we're talking about how he's not that big of a star. But we're still somewhat emotionally invested into his fights. I want Cheeto to beat him. I want Jan to beat him. I am going to tune into O'Malley's fights, and I'm really going to care. And when that's the case, it's fun. It is fun. The press conferences may not be so great, but an O'Malley fight is going to have me on the edge of my seat every single time. That's what I got to say about O'Malley. He knows how to brand himself on social media for, like, clothing companies and blunt wrap paper companies, I guess. I think that he's with, like, King Smoker. I don't even know what the name of these companies are. Dr. Dab. Dr. Dabbington. Dude, that's crazy. That's such an O'Malley type of name, bro. Yeah. So O'Malley's a business, man. He's a business. No, O'Malley's not a businessman. He's a businessman. You got to understand that. That's really the way to look at O'Malley. O'Malley isn't a businessman. He's a businessman. Okay? His whole thing is to brand. That's what I see that O'Malley is killing it at. All right? He is killing it there, and I respect it. I just think that he could be making that much more of a killing if he were to just freaking, come on, man. Put your shoulders back. Put your shoulders back. Don't let Cheeto get in your head. Don't let Cheeto dominate you in the build-up to this fight. Let him know. Cheeto's a guy that's stuck in the mud. Now, I want Cheeto to win. I like him as a fighter. He's entertaining, but he's stuck in the mud. He's slow. He just doesn't have the same talent. He may never be a UFC champion because of it. Let him know. Let him know. Okay? Let's get on to the next one. I guess we're going camping because it's time to bring up Alexandre Pantoja, Mr. Half-Guard himself. That's right, guys. I know this is going to be a bit controversial, but just keep this in mind. My least favorite fighters are ones that are also at the top. Like, of course, there's a million people I could have I could have Holly Holm on this list. All right? I could have Neil Magny on this list. And I respect Neil Magny. He's a crafty vet. I actually kind of like him. But my point is he's boring as fuck. And I can't stand watching him fight. But again, he doesn't really affect me that much because, it's one of the Neil Magny's on the early prelims. He's not screwing up a main event. This is the guy that's screwing up main events and co-main events. So I'm going to talk about him, and I'm just going to keep it real. I don't really like Alexandre Pantoja fights. I think he's boring as fuck half the time. When this guy's striking, he's a dog. I'll give him that credit. He's a dog. I like his striking. He imposes his will like no other. But when this guy takes people down in that half-guard position, I mean, you may as well give me a pillow. And the worst part about it is because he's a dog on the feet, because he is entertaining and he gets after it, he's willing to get hit, you're always under the impression that you're about to go to war. Right? People were talking about him and Royval as, whoa, this is going to be a banger. The first fight was that they had. It was really entertaining. But Pantoja's grappling, I guess, leveled up. He became a little bit of a bigger guy, a stronger guy, and he was able to just take Royval down and just kind of breathe on his neck. And, grapplers are going to hype that up and say, you don't understand it. This is high-level jiu-jitsu. I mean, I get it. You taking someone down, that's hard to do in the UFC. But Pantoja's the bigger guy. All right? He already took him down. If you've already taken someone down, you're the bigger guy and you're a good grappler, it doesn't take much to just keep him in half guard, right? They make it seem like Pantoja just keeping Brandon Royval in half guard is some kind of serious struggle. Like he's really doing all these different things, all these technical things to keep him on the ground. That's not true. That's just not true. He's just laying there. It's okay. You don't have to freaking, let me grab the hand and make sure I got the neck and let me grab the ankle. No, that's not how it works. Okay. You have someone in half guard. You can camp there. You can literally just camp there. And that's what he does. So again, if I take freaking Brandon Royval down and I have him in half guard, he's going to get up because I have such a lack of knowledge when it comes to jiu-jitsu that of course I'll be able to get up. But Pantoja, dude, he doesn't have to do much. And this guy just stinks it up. Pantoja, I respect the gritty mentality, bite down on that mouthpiece and go on the feet. He gave us a great fight with Moreno, but let's be honest, man, outside of a couple big meaty hooks that he landed on Moreno, the way that he won that fight was just taking Moreno down and breathing on his neck. And if this guy doesn't get a submission, he's boring on the ground. And that's just true. That's just true. And I know that sounds silly. But again, the difference between boring and entertaining sometimes is a submission. Like if Shavkat Rakhmonov does not get a submission against Wonderboy, but attempts one and has the same kind of round that he did in the first and the second, in the third against Wonderboy, and he just keeps attempting the submissions but doesn't get it, that's a boring ass fight. But of course he gets the finish and we're like, whoa, whoa, and it makes sense. It makes sense because it's fun to see someone put us out of our misery. We were just, oh my God, we just didn't like watching that one. But once you get the sub, it's like, number one, subconsciously, we're like, thank you. Holy shit. Shavkat Rakhmonov put an end to that boring ass fight. I mean, he was the one that was making it boring. Okay? You guys get my point. The main reason why I think that he's one of my least liked relevant fighters right now is because even though he is entertaining on the feet, because he's probably going to need to go to the ground with the guys that he'll be fighting in title fights to win. It's like we'll see glimpses of war on the feet where Pantoja's getting outstruck, but he's landing big shots and he's taking big shots and he's moving forward. And it's like a really entertaining style. He's just crashing forth with his opponents, guys that are entertaining as well. And the way that he wins those fights is by taking them down and stinking it up. And that always sucks when you see the more entertaining fighter lose to a guy that just is, you know, I mean, he's basically bringing out a tent and he's setting up the fireplace and he's setting up the freaking twigs and all that. And that's basically what Pantoja does. It's like he goes out there and he roasts marshmallows over the fire for 5 rounds. And I like marshmallows, man. I like a good s'more. But I don't necessarily need to eat I don't need to eat them during a title fight, bro. I don't need to eat them during a title fight. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, man. Pantoja, can you please throw some fucking ground? Can you please throw some ground and pound strikes? Please, bro. Can you fucking attempt an arm triangle? Come on. That's all I'm saying. It's just, I can't stand watching it. Pantoja, back to the compliments. I know we haven't been complimented until like the last 30 seconds of every single. Yo, oh my God. I know we haven't been complimented until the last 30 seconds of every little segment that I'm doing, but I guess it's time for the compliments. Pantoja, he seems like a great guy. He seems like a guy that you would want to freaking go camping with and roast some marshmallows over the fire with. He seems chill, down to earth, like a humble, hardworking guy. And, you know, that's a guy that could teach you a little bit about having that gritty mentality. And he'd be a great coach. He'd be a great mental coach for 90% of the roster because the guy imposes his will. That's one thing I respect about him. He imposes his will. Arman Tsarukyan. That's right. Listen, this is just a bad guy. I mean, this is a real despicable. I'm just kidding. He's not a bad guy. I just don't like him because he tried to run up on Bobby Green and punk him with about 10 guys when Green was all alone. Why? Because he has thin skin and he couldn't handle a little comment from Bobby King Green, the trash talker. He couldn't handle a little comment about wrestlers being boring.
What do you want to do, bro? You get it popping. You see it, man. Mama. Bro, get your people on my face, bro. Get your people on my face. No, on my face.
So he got angry, he got all puffed up, and he ran up on Bobby with 10 guys. And after that, okay, when Bobby got brutally KO'd by Jalen Turner, they asked Arman Tsarukyan about it, and he laughed at it.
I was super happy when he when his head was bumping on the canvas.
All right, he said he loved it. So I'm not a fan of this guy. Just thin skin, annoying, and it pisses me off because if he was like Ian Gary, a screechy guy that's clearly also trying to get publicity with everything that he does, it'd be like, all right, I understand what he's doing. He's trying to get some pop in the media. He's trying to hype his name up a little bit, but Arman's not thinking that far. And he's one of these guys that would tell you, I'm humble, brother. It's all about being humble, brother. So he doesn't care about getting all this fame and whatnot. What Arman Tsarukyan was doing is just taking his primal anger out, right? That's it. He just couldn't control himself. which is just a little bit funny, in my opinion. So I don't like this guy that much. I think he's thin-skinned. I think he has a chance to beat Makhachev, and that's the thing that we're going to get to the first compliment here, because we haven't complimented him yet, but Arman Tsarukyan scares me, right? And you know what they say, man, you want some respect, get some respect through fear, and I'm going to give Arman Sikan some respect because I'm afraid that he beats Charles Oliveira. I'm afraid that he beats Islam Makhachev, and now it's not just one guy that had some fluke KO over Makhachev. Now someone beats him in his prime. Volk's loss ages worse, meaning that the guy that beats Volk is finally losing again, and it's like, shit. I just don't like that at all, man. So I'm a little bit afraid of Arman Tsarukyan's reign because it could happen. I could see it, man. I could just see him continuing to fluke his way in this division. Again, he's very skilled. He's a phenomenal grappler. His striking looks fast twitch. Does he have pop? No, but I'm also afraid that the MMA gods are going to give him that pop because they've been looking out for him. Listen, chinning Beneil Dariush, we'll see if he can do that to Oliveira, but it was still kind of something that caught me off guard a little bit. Now, of course, that's Beneil's chin just being totally done. As I said, the guy needed a diaper afterwards, but either way, you get my point. Arman Tsarukyan is just a guy that could be doing well, and I'm going to say this, I think he's got a good shot to become a champion. So that's the first compliment for Arman. What's the other compliment? I guess he's entertaining. He's an entertaining fighter as well. One of the very select few grapplers in this sport that actually creates chaos on the ground. When he takes guys down, his ground and pound is incredible. He finishes lots of fights down there. And, of course, his striking is also fun to watch. He's got this flashy, high-output striking style on the feet. Lots of cool kicks as well. So he's just a fun guy to watch. But just a bad guy. Just not a good guy. No, I'm joking with that. He's probably all right. I just don't really like him. Running up on Bobby Green with a whole team of 10 guys just because he said you're a little bit boring? Get over it. Israel Adesanya. That's right. Of course he's making the list. Not going to spend too much time on this one, but let me just get down to the nitty-gritty. He's one of the cringiest fighters in the UFC. All right? He trash talks people like Robert Whittaker, which is just super annoying. He doesn't do that anymore, but in the build-up to the first fight, that's initially what made me dislike him. Then the stinky fight with Yoel Romero. Then the Paulo Costa fight where not only did he violate Paulo Costa, but he showed up with a boob. And not only that, but he got on the mic and delivered just a very cringy speech. We could talk about him all day thinking that he's an anime character. It's really his fan base that makes me dislike him more than I should for the most part. Because his fan base, guys like Rogan as well, they treat this guy like he's some kind of a top 5 striker of all time. I think he's the most overrated fighter in UFC history. But let's get on to the good stuff. Number one, he actually tries to sell his fights, and he tries to be charismatic. And he is charismatic compared to a lot of other fighters, right? He commands attention in a room. He speaks clearly. He speaks confidently, and that makes for, I guess, entertaining interviews. Also, he has cool walkouts. The UFC 281 walkout where he walked out to the Saw theme music was pretty awesome. The Undertaker walkout that he did to face Jared Cannonier. Let's not talk about the fight that followed that up, but he's done a lot of cool walkouts. The one that he had in the build-up to the Robert Whittaker one fight with the, what are they called? The Jabberwockies or whatever. Adesanya and his freaking Jabberwocky dances. Listen, man. Adesanya has some cool KOs. You're emotionally invested into watching his fights. We're tuning into Embedded. We're tuning into the pre-fight interviews. We're talking about this guy. He creates great content. He gives us things to talk about. He provides a delusional fan base for me to go back and forth with. And that's good. That's fun. So Adesanya is good for the sport. Okay? He is good for the sport. Hey, it makes it real exciting during his fights because then we get to see a guy like DDP, get him out of there. We saw Sean Strickland, get him out of there too, Jan Blachowicz. And a rainbow cannot be appreciated without the rain, all right? The sun shining cannot be appreciated without that rain. And Adesanya's title reign truly represented a bit of a cloud over the middleweight division over some time, because not only was he pissing people off like me, taking out the more entertaining fighters, but of course, he was just beating my favorite fighters. Next up, we got the Basharat Bros. That's right, Javid and Fareed. The most boring fighters in the UFC right now. Wet blankets, pitter-pat kicks, you name it, they're not doing any damage. They are not knocking people out. They're not really trying to hurt anyone. Your typical wet blanket fest in one of the most entertaining divisions. And we're talking about the bantamweight division. What are the good things about these guys? Because again, I just cannot stand watching them fight. Hardcore fans freak out about them. Basharat Bros, Basharat Bros. It's whispered in every little corner of the hardcore MMA fan base. I mean, you know, these guys are training with Aljo, and they're training with Marab, and they're training at the UFC PI. So they are good training partners. Like, they're good bodies to have in the room when you're working on the wrestling and you're working on the grappling. That actually is a really good training partner to have. If I'm getting ready for a world title fight and I'm going in there against a stubborn grappler, you know, give me a Basharat, bro. What were they at? These guys help our favorite fighters get better. Think about it. If you're Marab going into a fight with Henry Cejudo, man, what better training partner than a Basharat, bro? That guy is going to have good takedown defense. He's going to be able to take you down every once in a while. He's going to slow things down. And these guys, essentially, they help our favorite fighters fine-tune their skills, which is important. It's valuable. The other thing is, you know, an undefeated record looks good. You can market that. You can put undefeated on your Instagram bio. That's good as well. There's not really a lot, man. I'm sure that these guys are good, humble guys, to be honest. I'm sure they are actually pretty cool in real life. They don't seem annoying in any way, shape, or form. So there's that as well. The Basharat Bros, they seem like cool guys. I just can't stand watching them fight. Let me know in the comments what you think, because these guys aren't really the most well-known fighters, but man, are they boring to watch. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.